Good morning, afternoon, and evening, my friends. My name is MiAh the King, and ever want to know how to make a Kleenex dance? Simple. Put a little boogie in it. Now then, today we're taking a look at a game just released on Steam called The Ancients, a turn-based strategy game taking place during the prehistoric hunter-gatherer time period. It's kind of like, well, not kind of like, it is a turn-based strategy survival simulator kind of game. Developed by Guerrilla Softworks and published by caveman Games, I hope I said that right. Released in early access and selling for $20. So, what is this game? Well, pretty much, as I already said, it's a caveman survival game that happens to be turn-based. No real story, no real plot, no real anything other than ancient survival. So with that in mind, let's get into the good and the bad, and as always, we'll start with the good. However, I gotta say before we get into that, with an early access game like this, it's clearly going to have its issues. So take it with a grain of salt. The one main thing that I want to look at while I was playing this game was whether it has a solid foundation with which it can then build a majestic house of a game in the future. So let's all keep that in mind as you review the game alongside me, shall we? So first up for the positives is the price tag. When I saw $20 for a game like this, I was instantly appreciative. The game knows its value, it knows its worth, and it knows its investment. It's an investment due to being in early access. Considering what's here and other things that we'll get into later, the price tag is highly appropriate. Next up for the positives is the idea and originality of the game. The way it's put together and the way that it's trying to do something completely different has to be admired. I honestly don't think I've ever seen a game like this before, which makes me very excited to play it. I mean, a turn-based survival game? I have seen games similar to this, but nothing quite like this. Ancient cavemen, turn-based survival, it's an interesting idea. And last but not least for the positives is the gameplay, but this will also be in the negatives. For now though, the overall basis of the gameplay is pretty solid. Just like a lot of other turn-based games, it's pretty much gotten down that whole one more turn, addictive quality thing that a lot of other turn-based games, at least the good ones, use. It's fairly simple. You have a certain amount of action points each turn, and you have to use them appropriately. Use them to gather wood, flint, skin an animal, attack an animal, harvest an animal, build a shelter, gather vegetables, or whatever. There are many stats you have to keep in mind, like thirst, sickness, happiness, sociality, and others. During rain, your thirst depletes slower, so you can venture away from your water source. It gets cold in winter, so you'll need to make sure your tribesmen have clothing and a warm fire. They get hungry and need to eat, obviously, but you can also come across other ancient ruins, or other tribes, or rare animals, and everything you do and discover grants you research points, which you can use to adapt and evolve. Manage your people and direct them into whatever kind of tribe you want with its tribal management mechanic. There's also pop-up events when you're attacked by predators and how you want to handle that situation, or if you encounter another tribe. Do you want to be a positive clan or a negative one? And then it gives you multiple choices on how to approach them based on whether you chose to be negative or positive. And there's other pop-up events as well. It gives it some life and it's kind of cool. You have a research tree, a tribal culture tree, a crafting tree, an inventory screen, and I could keep going. There's a lot of stuff here, and I think the coolest thing I saw was when you go into a tribal screen, you can actually see your tribe in a 3D representation of what they currently are, basically. In other words, this screen here, this will actually change, as will your people and what they look like and what your camp looks like as you explore, adapt, and become whatever you want your tribe to become like. Are they going to be just peaceful gatherers who worship the, sun god, or are they going to become a warlike, barbarian type kill everything they meet kind of tribe, and it's all going to be represented in that previous screen that I showed you. It's a pretty cool idea to actually see your tribesmen change due to the decisions that you're making and the gear that you give them. But, unfortunately, that's all I have to say positively about the game. Now we've got to go into the negatives, but before that, make sure all of you out there give some consideration to supporting my channel. It's very hard for small YouTubers to make a name for themselves without the support of their audience. Without you, we're nothing. So, I'm nothing. Kinda used to that, but it's okay. Anyway, if you find this video entertaining or at the very least informative, then consider liking, commenting, and subscribing. Oh, and hit that bell too. Thank you. Now then, on to the negatives. I don't even know where to start with this one, so I guess I'll just approach this as methodically as I can think of. So yeah, up first is the sound. With the music, while the music sounds decent enough, it's also kind of plain and bland. I mean, it's what you'd expect it to be, but it's not anything exceptional or, super memorable. The exact same thing could be said about the sound effects, so I'm not going to repeat myself. There's no voice acting, and worst of all, there's barely any ambiance, and in a game like this, you want that. Hearing rain when it rains and hearing a horse whine as it runs by isn't really ambiance, it's just sound effects. I want to hear ambiance. Crickets at night, wind, distant howling, murmuring from the tribe at camp, stuff like that. But no, besides the music, the game is surprisingly quiet, which is a little disheartening. Next up for the negatives is the biggest one in my opinion, simply because of how much it pissed me off. The stability. Where do I even begin with this? I have a lot to say. Let's just start at the beginning where the game wouldn't even appear on my screen after I started it, but it sure as shit messed with the resolution of my freaking desktop. Had to alt-tab several times to get the game to pop up, but when it did, it was at a weird resolution where my mouse wouldn't even go to the right side of my screen. Upon a lot of messing around, I was finally able to get the game to a resolution that worked, but my problems didn't stop there. Almost every single thing in this game is broken. My people next to water supply, yet they're still dying of dehydration. Game froze on me multiple times and I had to hard restart. Many functions of the game simply not working. For some reason, I can no longer find my tribe despite on my minimap it's showing that I'm supposedly directly on my tribe. I grabbed the cursor on the minimap and looked at every inch of the map and could not find my tribe. Along with that, for some reason, I couldn't move the camera at all. I could not go to my tribe. I could not move at all, and the only way to move my camera was by clicking and grabbing on the minimap, and that's what happened before I just lost sight of my tribe completely. And here, what you're going to see next is the game not allowing me to craft spears or explore new recipes. Sorry about that. Normally you click on this little thing right here, and then a menu pops up of your inventory allowing you to combine different things to discover new inventions, but it's not working. I cannot craft, cannot experiment, and thus I'm dead in the water in terms of gameplay. I could keep going, of course, about other things that I experienced, but I don't want to. You might have noticed on Steam that I only have an hour of gameplay time. Yes, because the game broke on me at an hour. Even upon re-entering the game, I was unable to explore different crafting recipes and methods. So I guess the game just decided for me that I'm done playing today. Basically, the game is broken as shit and I can't play it anymore, so I won't and I'm not even going to try. Next up for the negatives is the look of the game. I mean, just look at this title screen. In my opinion, it's ugly as hell. My exact words when I pulled up the game. Now, normally, I don't care too much about graphics. It's always nice when a game looks good, but if the gameplay is solid, I don't really care if it's ugly. But even so, some people do care more than I do, and the game just doesn't look that great. Low attention to detail, low contrast and lighting, and some bad coloring here and there. Next up for the negatives is the gameplay. While it does have a solid idea in what it's doing, it doesn't seem to meld its functions very well. Maybe this is due to the poor UI, which I'll go into later, but basically your people can get sick, dehydrated, and die literally left and right and you'll barely notice, but we'll go into that later. For now in the gameplay, as far as I know, there's no way to cure your people of sickness. Despite having 2 tribes and probably 10 people or more, I was unable to kill 1 tiger, despite half my people having spears. For some reason, my people's stats were all weaker and much lower as indicated by red color, so they couldn't do anything very well, and this wasn't explained as to why either. You don't have enough action points to handle your tribe effectively either, in contrast to how much resources are used each day. To explain it further, every day you'll use 1 wood and 1 food, but if you move, you can only harvest once because you only start out with 2 action points. And half the time, you're not even going to harvest enough to make it worth it, and you'll end up just wasting your time. A lot of things are also kind of poorly explained in its tutorial. I have no idea if my clan is crafting spears while they're on the move, or if they have to be in a camp. There's no way to combine multiple tribes into one big tribe, or if there is, I have no idea how to do it, which I wanted to do because controlling 2 tribes in this annoying gameplay was just that annoying. And remember when I said that the pop-ups are kind of cool because of all the choices you get? Well, it's a damn shame that half the time I have no idea if they even did anything. There's no notification or anything. You know what? Screw it. Most of its gameplay problems are due to its UI, so let's go into that. The user interface, that's the next negative. The text is too small, even for my perfect 20/20 vision. The organization is a little haphazard, and it's hard to navigate. Some of the buttons don't make sense. Some of the screens don't make sense. There's almost no notifications of important things, like when your people are dying or they get sick. No cause or explanation given for their death when they do die. No real notification of the depletion of resources, and overall half the time while I was playing, I was just struggling to understand and read the UI to figure out what the hell was going on. Plus, in my opinion, it's kind of ugly. Alright, so that's all I got to say both positively and negatively about the game. Time for my final thoughts and my recommendation. Well, honestly, as a foundation, sorry, my voice cracked there. As a foundation for a future game, there is definitely something here. The idea is interesting, and the way they're trying to put it all together is really interesting, and I like a lot of the ideas presented within its gameplay. I love the choices that pop up, I love the difficulty idea, I love the look at your 3D tribe and how it'll change as you change, the multiple different trees that you can manage to really get elbow deep into what kind of tribe you want, and the turn-based mechanics and world around you is an interesting idea as well. However, at this current stage of development, the game is not worth it. It is too broken, too unfinished, to be played enjoyably or reliably. It just has way too many issues to be taken seriously right now. I love the idea of it, and maybe one day it can be worth something. But as it is right now, I'd have to just recommend everybody pass on this one. Put it on your wish list and wait and see how or if it continues to develop and how it comes along. Wait and see if they adjust the gameplay, clean up the UI, and fix its stability. If they can do that and make this game more stable, and when I say stable, I don't just mean with its glitchiness, but with its gameplay as well as further content, then maybe come back and check it out and give it a try. So yeah, my recommendation is to pass on this one. If you're super interested in it like I was, then just add it to your wish list and wait 6 months or so. Alright everybody? Alright, so that's all the time I got for this video. Thanks so much for checking it out, with a special thanks to those of you who stuck around to the end. If you have any questions or concerns, please let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I can't wait to see you all again on my next adventure. So until then, I bid you all farewell.